both there, actually. That's better. Because by the time I start here, there'll be 12 terraforming turns left, whereas here there'll only be 11, so it won't actually save a turn, I don't think. After these guys are done, what would they work on next? Could start improving this tile in preparation for eventually a base to work it, but that might not happen for a while. I'm saying cutting the fungus out of that tile. And most likely to go back to World Health Organization and then move along the river. So 2/3 of movement is just as good as a full turn for the former. So boom, it's really only like it's an adjacent tile. Start planting a forest. Because after this base grows enough, it will be doing a forest on that river there. Split up. I could maybe send. No, because I can go right from there to farm there. Yep. Do a forest, then do a farm. West of UNHQ. Still didn't decide what to do with this tile. Flat and rainy. I suppose I could supply Car some nutrients if I built a farm and got gene splicing, but that won't be for a while. Could pre-build the farm and head south for a farm mine here. That's probably what I do. And then, so this just be a nutrient crawler at 3 nutrients. It's not great, but once I do the weather paradigm, I can add a condenser, which will make it 4, and also increase the rainfall here, making all the terraforming total, all the tile its use, basically giving me 5 nutrients, 4 from the crawler, and yeah. Or I could just work the farm with a worker. Crawler just to essentially save the labor of one worker. May not be worth it. Surplus nutrients can support more specialists, but surplus labor rather, because you can free up. But eventually I'll crawl the tile at some point. And even later I'll raise it up and expand the land and build a base next to this. And could help farm those nutrient resources. Let's see, that would be 5 nutrients as opposed to 4 on, no, on land. It'd be 7 nutrients, I believe, or 6. Because if it's rainy, 2 for nutrient, that's up to 4. 5 of the farm, then there's 50%. So yeah, it should be 7 nutrients. 6 or 7 nutrients if it's on land. So yeah, I'll eventually raise that up, tile up to land too, and even create a little land bridge this way. Creating a sort of little lake. Which if I have a base here, I raise the land out this way, I can control access through this waterway. Spartans probably won't have any bases in the coast, so it'll be waterway I have exclusive control over, as long as I hold the base. Yeah, eventually. I might have to go over them way before it. In that case, I'll just have a bit of water I can clear the fungus from and have it secure against Isles of the Deep, which, yeah, Isles of the Deep. I'll I'll show you guys that it's the aquatic vector of mine worms. It acts as both a combat unit and a transport once it's big enough. Higher can float large land units once they're reached a high enough level of development. So like the hatchling version can't, but it's the lowest morale level. As they get bigger, though, they gain transport capacity as well as effectiveness in combat. Aquatic vector of the mineworm style deep is closely associated with mineworms and sea fungus. The floating shell of an isle of the deep, formed by secretions that colonize individual members, is often used as a nesting place by mineworms. It can even float large land units. So yeah, they can unload mineworms. They can attack units. You can capture them, of course, using them as sea transports yourself. Nasty little things, but useful if you capture them. But yeah, so the U.S. does not have programs to help people with highly technical skill sets resettle to places where actually jobs in their fields. So, like let's say you study, I don't know, engineering in some place in the middle of a country. You can't do engineering in the middle of the country in like a college town. The government will not, despite the value of engineering skill sets, help those people. Okay, I studied biology, same kind of thing. I'm sure people look down more on biology, so I make the case first with engineering. But many countries have done this. This isn't some unreasonable thing to expect a government to do. It not only augments tax revenue and gets people doing better jobs, more economic production, grows the economy. It helps people build their lives. Spain, for instance, had a program like that for quite a long time, where right out of college or grad school, people could get basically government subsidized apprenticeship, where the government would not only do wage subsidies for jobs, so the employer wouldn't have to pay their full wages for like the first year and a half, I think, of the job. They would also pay for the relocation of people to these apprenticeships if they need the help with it. So it was because they might get a job right where they were already, and obviously there's no relocation. Then it was a useful thing, and the Soviet Union had a program just like this with its huge size. Relocating people to where there were jobs was very important. Although this did lead to a lot of Russians settling in the Baltic countries because people wanted to go there for the climate, and there actually were a lot of jobs in certain fields there. So those areas became highly desirable, and they ended up doing a ranking system of where you could get matched with people at the highest like aptitudes, the highest exam scores would get first pick, and they would often choose Baltic countries. So not only were the Russians coming in, they were often smarter than the average person, which meant they would outcompete jobs, which means they actually would steal jobs from natives, because the most talented people are going to get jobs first. If there's any kind of underemployment, it would force the locals into lower paid jobs if they you know like didn't want to leave the area. And we're doing these rankings, and the lower ranked graduates might choose a lower paid field rather than go halfway across the Soviet Union because they were more attached to their culture. And yeah, it created a lot of tensions in the area, and tensions that got worse after the Soviet Union fell, but started to get really bad in Gorbachev's reforms. So it can be done well, like in Spain, or poorly. Of course, that benefits from all being mostly a single culture, though probably created tensions in Catalonia, which was a desirable area for apprenticeships. So it can spark economic tensions. That's the downside to it, but it helps people build their lives and grows the economy, and it's less problematic in like the United States, where I don't think say the government had helped me move to some city like Atlanta, Georgia, which has a booming biology sector. I don't think they'd be like, oh, you darn person from the north moving to the south. Actually, I've lived in the south parts of my life, so I really wouldn't have been. It's not the same. U.S. cares less. People move around all the time. But anyways, I got screwed. I was stuck in this rural area, and I was doing retail, and I was it was almost unbearable, and so I was saving money with the retail job I was doing, which you get terribly abused to have the money to move to an area where there were jobs in biology, and I was trying to also do biology, also maybe do a little bit of like working as an EMT on the weekends for a little extra money and to get clinical experience for medical school applications. That was the idea. I was going to try and both work in pharmaceuticals weekdays and as an EMT on the weekends. Not really a lot of eventual pharma jobs want you basically on call all weekend, and they probably wouldn't have wanted me working a second job. But um, they don't tell you that until you actually start the jobs, or if you have a professor who's worked in the field, which I found out later with my master's I did more recently. Yeah, that's kind of the case. It's one of those things they don't tell you in the official job listing. you know, 5 days a week, but the weekends will give you lots of take home work, expect you to be on call 24/7. It's ridiculous, but it's one way they can exploit eager young people trying to build their lives. All right, I got a scout patrol to defend here. So send that one to cover this tile. Civil rights can work that next when it grows. Monitoring agency. Or monitoring agency actually would be the next to grow. Either way, I've got enough farm tiles that I can afford the solar panels. Solar collectors. There's a scout patrol to guard. Colony pod. Go by way of monitoring agency because it's safer. Yeah, because these people bullied me and made my life that was already miserable because customer service sucks because I didn't have the money for a car, at least not if I was me saving up to move across country. I was biking miles to working sometimes in brutal like Midwestern cold in the winter, which actually caused once an accident. I'm not going to talk about that. It wasn't bad for me, but the other person whose car I was involved was very, very, very angry at me and might have gone violent if someone else hadn't come and intervened. Um, so, yeah, I got a little scuffed up, but it wasn't bad. Physically, for me, it was more the person being fuming mad at me, being scared for my safety, and also threatening to sue me, which they didn't do. And they realized I was so poor that there was nothing I could give them, hardly. Uh, that was my fault, but it was because it was like negative 12 or 20 or something Fahrenheit that was biking, and even balled up, I was freezing and I was a little bit sleepy, and so I made a mistake. So it was an accident that was my fault with biking into a stationary car stationary at the time, just barely caught the corner because I misjudged. But yeah, and then of course sometimes because some people hate bicyclists, there would be cars that would try and run me off the road or hit me when I was just biking on the side of the road. So it sucked. It was doing that to save money, and because I actually didn't have a license at the time, and so because family not help me get one when I was the right, like teenager for that, toxic family members, and so get taking well, I took lessons a little bit, but it was expensive. I didn't have the money to do driving lessons, and had to do a bunch of those for car people who did the lessons let use their car for driving tests. I did some, and then the guy still won't let me because I paid for enough lessons. He felt he wasn't going to let me use the car for tests, and then finally found someone who would after just a reasonable number of lessons, but uh, ended up blocking in some supposed help family for a move that then they reneged on anyways. Um, this family is like, oh, come help you move, and then actually, no, I'll just pay for the ship stuff. It's like I already locked in a move out date and missed the chance to get my driver's license with this guy I've been paying for some lessons that charged a more reasonable rate. So, and because I didn't get my license for like another year, with at least pressure in the family member, well, you made me miss the road test, so you can at least let me use your car for a road test. And with some finagling, got that because the fact that I even had to argue that is ridiculous. But family was not helpful. Never has been in my life. Um, as much as they should have been. So, all right, Scout Rover here. Scout Rover and Patrol both designated defenders. That's good. If, say, 2 Mine Worms attacked, I can split the defense. I just don't want the Uni Rover. Can wait a turn. Then by way of the force, down to border agency site. Except I want the scout patrol to go north and gain experience. I'll just have to wait. Probably. I don't want the Uni Rover being defending the base on its own. Okay. Might even be best to send it north. More like with sensor race to spot my worms where I can attack them up that way. Yeah. Not doing much good here. Prior to extra defense to UN civil rights, which is doing a build there that's got more production stored up, I think. Yeah. This would be worse if I lost the base. Somehow I got attacked twice. With the road network, it can extend project power further, defend more tiles. My worms that, they will chew up farms and stuff. Alright, 17 minutes. I'm not that far in. That's good. Yeah, that's condescending. Makes me want to play the free drones even more. Well, Thinker mod at some point. If I can't do the base Alien Crossfire anymore, I'll just have to do a Thinker mod to be able to make it work on Windows 11. Even if the install process could be a bit of pain because you have to install a couple other patches first, apparently. Oh well. Probably should write down what I did in case I ever have to do another computer. Excuse me.
Turn complete.
Formers, colony pod, commons. I've also been thinking about defensive strategy against those Spartans. I could build. I thought went through a couple different things in my mind. When I get recon rovers, the obvious choice at this tech level, but when I get to impact weaponry, we can build impact infantry. There are 2 rows, I believe, or impact rovers, which are 3. The rovers are more effective in open terrain, and they can disengage against units that are slower. Although the Spartan infantry might be elite, and they use a lot of rovers, so that might not be very often. So they're a little more effective. They cost more, but obviously the same upkeep. They don't add any more to my might rating, though. So less cost-effective ways to deter attacks in the first place. And if I do go to war with Spartans, I'm going to want to be able to freaking conquer their bases. Rather rather than a prolonged war, which would drain my resources and make it easier for, say, the Gaians, the university, to surpass me in the long run. I think the Gaians are already ahead of me. Yeah, they are in score. The university could be if a prolonged war. The Hive will fall behind in the long run. The Morganites are always weak. Believers aren't doing great. Sometimes they do amazing, but not this game. Spartans are #1 though, so I gotta worry about them. Impact infantry allow me to build up my might quicker to deter assault and give me a force. Infantry, let me show you guys for those new to this game or don't know much about it. Infantry gain plus 25 combat advantage when attacking enemy bases. Some people incorrectly say they have base defense bonuses. They don't only base attack. At least that's what it says here. Pretty sure I've never seen them have a base defense bonus. But when assaulting bases, on the other hand, not cruiser, speeder. Speeders can move quickly across planet surface to gain plus 25% combat advantage when attacking in open terrain. They can also disengage when surprised by SOAR enemy infantry. Not elite infantry, though. But yeah, it can be very important to invest in troop quality against the Spartans because they'll have 2 morale levels on me. And if they, as they likely will, go to values power early, that'll be even more. Their troops would be substantially better than mine. So I have to invest as much in quality as possible so that they have less of a quality advantage over me, and then make up their main quality advantage with quantity and strategy if I'm to beat them. Even if I do beat them, though, I'll probably will need some speeders to go and destroy any improvements they have and pick off civilian units, which Mobile will help with that, even if it won't help with disengaging if they counterattack because their units will be just as fast. Because they probably will have to wear them down a little before I can gain enough economic advantage to assault their bases. But I'll definitely need that because wars are expensive. If I don't deal with the threat, then they'll just attack me again and again and again. And I'll need their territory to make up for the economic cost of the war. Plus, more territory. The Munson Jungle, lots of population. Pretty much with the Munson Jungle, be almost certain to win the game, and I'll have enough population to get a diplomatic victory. Of course, I'll still play it out. Could be fun. Seeing secret project videos and stuff. Refining strategies I might use in my next games. Get more familiar with this game again.
Request confirmation.
Let's do this. Colony pod. I'll get my last few bases up quick. I say last few because I'm gonna stop building new bases and transition to just building lots of military units and maybe bits of infrastructure here and there, like here and there, Rec Common, and maybe occasional former. Try and keep my economy growing a little bit, but I need to militarize to stop the Spartans attacking me and to maybe even lure them to attacking me prematurely. With the Munson Jungle, they may have more economic capability to grow than I do. So in the long run, they'll surpass me. It's actually the inverse, and normally the peacekeepers can normally outgrow the Spartans, but not with this start. So delaying a war too long will actually make them have better units and more of them. Even with the AI being terrible, I think they're better in Alien Crossfire, and they're better still with the patches to Alien Crossfire, some of which don't work in the base engine. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the AI is just that terrible. I'm used to playing against them with the 3.5 community patch. And I think even the expansion made improvements, like unpatched expansion to the AI. So maybe they're so terrible I don't have to worry, but their score suggests that maybe they're doing alright. I think the one thing the AI knows how to use correctly is the Munson Jungle. It's pretty much the only start that's a threat to you, is if an AI ends up right where the Spartans did, especially with the nutrient resources that roll, at least this one and this right off. They can go very, very tall. There. And grow quickly too, so out. And there's lots of land for them to expand this continent. Whereas I got like the dune wastes, upland wastes. This is the Great Dunes, upland wastes. Most of this terrain in the eastern part of this continent is pretty poor quality. There's Neca Planet here, which has bonuses, and they probably actually started right next to it. So they got all the best territory in this continent. I got the word. Well, I got a really strong start, and I figured you don't always get somebody who spawns here, so I figured maybe I could expand south. This con have all the best lands in this con, but nope, the Spartans there. Not prayer of. It's even dangerous to like if it was say the Gaians, I could maybe have built bases, stole some land, and the Gaians aren't that aggressive. The Spartans will attack me while I'm weak before I've reaped the rewards of that. So I'm building up to probably what I call the border agency. Maybe another base here or something a little bit. I'm not really pushing it, like trying to grab actual monsoon jungle tiles because I need a strong military. And lots of probe teams to keep an eye on what they're actually up to. So I'll know if they're about to attack and know where the units are, which is a combat advantage that I think the AI kind of magic always knows where your units are, but you don't have the same advantage as a human. Alright. Looks good everywhere. Defense command is about to grow, and then work that one forest. That command doesn't even have any inefficiency. Interesting. So I think I tested it. Defense command produced that much energy. They did lose one. Man command is a little closer to the HQ. So probably if they were 4 energy here, they'd have an efficiency, whereas here it's at 3. Because it's slightly greater distance. It's right on the threshold. And make it worse when I add more bases. I don't know. I think it's just distance, not number of bases, that affects inefficiency. But I know this is there's a formula. Yeah, it's just distance. The drones from bureaucracy, space number of bases, but so yeah, Mountain Command is just close enough to HQ to get that extra lab point instead of it going to waste. One more reason for them to ward the river and not have the river towers work by defense command. Do this, but yeah, it's better the way around. It's the 4th energy here. It doesn't go to an efficiency. The 3rd did. Fun. Little micro things like that. Ah, forest expanded. Right near your planetary trust. And the base is now too small to be in a golden age, so it stopped being in one. And in HQ is working on probably the last colony pod I'll do. After which, recon rovers, I guess. Oh. It's not even in the big fat cross of planetary trust. Why did it say it's actually near Mountain Command, that forest grew? There's no forest under the base, which actually would have slightly helped the ecology of the area, since it's not cleared when you build bases on forests, and they still reduce eco damage from terrain improvements a little bit. I think it is. Let's see. I'm not sure the formula is correct for the one here, but subtract one for each forest. Yeah, terraforming. So it always reduces terraforming eco damage, like from roads and stuff. But yeah. This is on a rolling moist tile at high elevation, so I'd probably want a farm and solar collector there eventually. Need the nutrients. Until you get gene splicing, bases can only, if they're not near a nutrient resource, have up to 2 surplus. So they'll grow. And they'll very slowly if you work even one forest, and not at all if you work 2. Which is one more reason to farms. So you get more minerals in total than the last. So before gene splicing or hab complexes, a size 7 base that works 2 forests is kind of where you want to end up. That would give the most minerals if the 5 tiles are all rolling. You might have one that's just like 2 nutrient, 1 energy or something, but still gets, energy in the mix too. If you have the site to spare, maybe like an energy resource that's worth 3 or 4 with a solar panel. Energy matters too. Right, anyways. Mountain command will grow 1 more time in total. Probably turn that to a farm eventually. And then work the 2 farm mine next to it and farm solar collector to the east. Although of the energy, 2 energy produced, well, 1 will go econ and 1 will go to waste, but still an econ, which is far more valuable in labs right now. There'll be other tiles that work anyhow that produce energy, like more forests eventually. So power through. But yeah, that forest can then expand to the arid flat tile south of it and the moist flat. Just this arid flat will eventually be a good base location. All these bases do get in the way of raising ore and terrain someday, but just possibly one more reason not to build more, besides the fact I need to build military units. All right, Morkan Border Agency base. This last colony pod will go to Hydrology Council. This one should probably do World Food Program. This will be a fast growing base, and it's got some pretty good tiles near it. Right then. Yeah, I should go via the northern route, it's telling me, which is correct. I want a road there eventually, so the units can move further. But yeah. a road here either. Don't mind the calling pod taking a little longer to reach here because I need to have units available to defend that tile, just in case. Neck and neck with Spartans a little behind. I can't afford to lose a base due to bad luck. I can probably pull ahead once the secret projects, once this one's weather paradigm is a very valuable secret project. Let's advance the weather paradigm. Send these guys to get upgraded. And suppose there's a tiny risk of spine worms. I should have done this in different order. There. I don't know if there's a penalty from using two of these in the same turn. But it doesn't appear to... It's not going to finish it immediately anyhow. I guess I want at least one artifact as insurance if mass mind work attacks somehow. If it can make the difference between losing the base or not, I'd rather lose an alien artifact than lose all the ongoing progress, which effectively destroy the artifact. Time is wasting. Two maritime command scout patrols. Could leave them here for a turn. If a mass mind worm boil appears, I can rush him to maritime command to defend. Let's see, got one disciplined unit here. Could probably go to World Food Program immediately if I wanted. Or have one of these. It's not a huge rush to get units out here. What? Let's not take dumb risks. Especially once I complete this in 10 turns, I can put a network node in construction so that if I get a thing that instantly completes nearest base facility, a network node is expensive. It could be useful in maritime command with energy resource near it for a little extra lab output. And free tech if I get another alien artifact eventually, somewhere out at sea, and bring it in. Tech is important for military. It's not just production, so I can't entirely ignore tech, even though I've been so far focusing more on hoping for econ so I can build my industry. So yeah, I have time then. Send these units to get upgraded and then come back. Pop that pod. Alright. Forget if farm is F or shift F. I don't want to accidentally do a forest. It's F. Cultivating farms. Once upon a time I was an army ROTC, so occasionally you hear me say hooah. Something you know. Come to despise the US Empire. I mean, heck, there's people who serve in the military and they become anti-war later. I didn't even serve. Medical clearance screwed me over. Some mostly bogus childhood thing, but that happens a lot. Well, turned out to develop into something unexpected, but at the time it seemed bogus. So maybe legitimate health reasons. But either ways, I got medically disqualified for a cough that I'd had. Well, for breathing issues and a light cough. It was not actually in the records at the time, but the cough got worse. It may have been related to childhood breathing issues, so maybe the doctor that I thought was unreasonable, some childhood issues, but it turned out may be a contributing factor to the cough I have now, so maybe they were right. Because this cough would have been the frequency it's at and noise would have been a problem, probably. If they end up sticking me in a combat arm where, it could give away a position. Cough I can't control because it's like I can't breathe if I don't cough sometimes. It's bad. It wasn't nearly that bad then, though. It's gotten worse over time. It settled out later, but it got worse a couple years later, and then it just stayed at the level it's been since. I was medically disqualified. It was like 21, 22, about 23, 24. It got to its worst, and then the cough got substantially worse about that point, and then it just stayed where it was for the most part. All right. This Unity rover. I don't really need a second here.